What's new in food?
If you have a service that you provide to food service manufacturers and operators, IFMA can help you leverage your business in that industry. So with that said, we want to hear today from 3 of our current IFMA associate members and to listen how they've leveraged their IFMA membership to build their business. But before we do that, we want to take a few minutes to talk about IFMA, who we are, what we do, and why we do it. So IFMA is, as Charlie said, the International Food Service Manufacturers Association. We're celebrating our 70th year this year, which we're very proud of. And as a trade association, we have been dedicated for those 70 years to serving the manufacturers in the food service industry. Our membership consists of over 300 company members. Within those company members, we have thousands of individual members. So the membership, when you join IFMA as an associate member, you join as a company, but all of your team members can be on your roster and be part of the IFMA membership as well. At IFMA, our main focus is helping companies and individuals grow in food service. And how do we do that? We do that through our IFMA Centers of Excellence. Our 4 Centers of Excellence, including connectivity, which is our content-driven events, our insights, research, the Food Service Leadership Councils, webinars and programs, best practices like GS1 all the way up to go-to-market planning program, and training and education. This is the IFMA Food Service Education Center with on-demand and in-person training courses. So with that said, on this slide here, we're looking at some operators and manufacturers. This is just a sampling of some of the types of manufacturers and operators that you will meet and have an opportunity to network with, you'll have access to, and to collaborate with as you become a member, an associate member of IFMA. You might notice there are large and small companies here and everything in between. But enough about us. Now let's talk and meet our panelists. I will introduce them briefly and then let them introduce themselves, starting with Ryan Sigler. Ryan Sigler is the senior partner at SPEC Incorporated. Ryan?
Hey, Helen. Nice to meet you. Thank you, first of all, Helen and Charlie, for organizing this and asking me to be a part of it. Just real briefly, again, my name is Ryan Sigler, and I am a senior partner at SPEC, which stands for Specialized Professional Employment Consultants. What we are is we are an executive search firm that specializes exclusively in recruiting sales, marketing, and product development professionals for food and beverage manufacturers specifically. We're based in Madison, Wisconsin, and we work nationwide. We were founded in 1990, and I've been a part of the firm since 2004. And in full transparency, we work in all areas of the food industry, but our business is most heavily weighted in the food service side of things. So again, this has been our sole area of expertise since we were founded over 30 years ago. We eat, breathe, and sleep the food service industry and make it our business to know the top talent in it.
Thank you, Ryan. And next, welcome Heather Gowie from SROC.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Helen and Ryan. I'm Heather Gowie. I'm with SROC Partners. SROC is a food service marketing agency. We represent manufacturing clients throughout that create food and make food for the world. And we are located out of Burr Ridge, and we've been in business for 40 years. We've been helping clients large and small navigate the ever-evolving landscape that food service is, and we're really excited to be a part of this panel. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for joining us. And last but certainly not least, Jack Lee, CEO at Data Central.
Hey, Helen. Hey, everybody. I'm Jack from Data Central. We're basically here to help food companies make higher quality decisions, whether it's knowledge about what's happening with consumers and the way they eat and their behavior, or what's happening with food trends. That's sort of what we do. And a lot of that has been through the partnership with IFMA. So Helen, Ryan, Heather, super happy to be here with you and all of you watching as well.
Well, thank you all. And I'm going to jump right into it here. We're going to make this conversational, but there is a basic question I want to ask to all of you, and I'll start with you, Ryan. And that is simply, if you can just share out, why did you join IFMA?
The reason we joined IFMA, I think, is a pretty obvious one given our line of work. The number one reason we wanted to join was for the networking opportunities that IFMA provides. There are lots of ways to network, both inside the industry and in larger platforms like LinkedIn, but I think the unique value that IFMA provides from a networking perspective is access to senior leadership, top leaders within the major food manufacturers in our industry, and not only having access to knowing who they are, but being able to really have conversations with them and understand what their concerns are regarding the overall industry, the unique challenges that they face, and that helps us determine how to best service them, how to help them with their staffing needs.
And I noticed too that, Ryan is a fairly new associate member, Spec is, and you jumped in right away coming to President's Conference, which I saw you networking quite a bit and gaining that access. So right on. Heather, how about you? Why did SROC join IFMA?
Well, for us, IFMA is the leading organization in food service industry for networking and insights you just can't get anywhere else, hands down. At SROC Partners, we've always thought it was important for our organization to be a member of IFMA because it's the mark that says you're serious about food service. You're either in it or you're not. And because we are helping our clients grow their brands every single day, we need to be fully in it. To that end, what I found, and I think probably Jack and Ryan would agree, is once you enter the food industry, you never quite leave it. You're kind of there for life. And I think it's because food is one of those few things in life that connects us all. And when you recognize that, and as a food service professional, the role you play in helping to feed the world, it's a pretty powerful thing. And then when you add the strength and value of IFMA to the mix, suddenly this industry just becomes part of your soul. And it's just so inspiring to see the passion that we all share for food service. It's amazing to watch the industry grow and change and to celebrate it when we all come together as IFMA members at the many events that are hosted throughout the year. You just can't find that level of premium value and top-notch inspiration anywhere else.
Well, thank you for that, and well said. I think that the core of food runs thick through all of us, and I always say one thing about being in the food business: everybody eats. So you meet all kinds of people, and guess what? After they eat, they have to eat again. So it's a good industry to be in. Jack, Data Central, our records show you joined IFMA in 2000. So maybe you can't remember back to why you joined IFMA in 2000 or that many years ago, but you've renewed your membership every year as well. So maybe you could just share a little bit about, initially when you joined and today, and continuing to renew and continuing to stay more and more engaged with IFMA.
It's a good thing that you keep good records, because I wasn't sure what the date was, but I knew it was quite some time ago. And what's remarkable is it sounds like we joined IFMA in 2000. We didn't formally get started as Data Central until early 2001. So joining IFMA was literally the first thing that we did. And I think you just confirmed that fact. And it's probably one of the best things, if not the best thing, that we've done. And I'm not just saying that. It was expressed to us, and we were just a couple of people at the beginning, expressed to us very early on from people like us on the screen right now back then, that hey, you really want to get involved with IFMA. And it was sort of explained to us that this is where thought leadership happens. This is where everyone and every company that matters is really congregating. And we didn't spend money on advertising or anything else, but we said, okay, this is something that's worthwhile investing in, which is tough to do when you're just getting started and don't really have a big budget. But that investment has been repaid 100 times over, maybe 1,000 times over. At this point, it's been fantastic, and we view ourselves as wanting to contribute to thought leadership too. And if you can't do it at an IFMA forum, you're really not in the game, so to speak. So it's been great. And I knew it was early. I thought it might maybe be like 2002, but the fact that we did it in 2000 really says something. So that was almost pre-Data Central, basically. So
I didn't realize when you had started, so that's pretty amazing. I know, some of you have been around a little longer than others, and maybe you have lots of examples or stories, or maybe you just have one, but would anybody like to share any particular example of when they went to an event or otherwise, hosted a breakout session, a webinar where they collaborated with another IFMA member and had a very successful or positive outcome?
I could kick off. Happy to mention that, the latest President's Conference was a really successful one for us in particular. We had a number of our clients there. We had Alohi Strategic Advisors, Finless Foods, New Wave, Tyndall, Traditional Medicinals. Those who were there remember this well, the first night that we all got together and had a ball out on the greens there. They fed everybody. It was a great place to launch their brands into the food service space. A lot of these companies are startups. So this is a wonderful way to capture a lot of great brand recognition and have those top-to-top meetings that really matter and lead to sales and happy clients. So we worked with IFMA and collaborated on how to bring that to life, and it was a great experience for us and our clients.
It was a beautiful setting in that lawn there, and the hot air balloon in the background and all that food. I did try every one of those booths you're talking about because I had to see a lot of those new plant-based products for sure. So, Ryan, were you going to add one?
Yeah, I was going to add it wasn't necessarily about an event. I'm going to give Charlie a shout out. I think he's still listening. So we joined IFMA at a very interesting time for the first time ever. We came into the organization in February of 2020, right before the world shut down. And when I said the motivation for joining IFMA was networking, that's true. Shame on me, I did underestimate the value of the insights and the webinars that IFMA provides. So we joined in February 2020, and a month later, that's when the big shutdown happened, and everyone was scared and no one really knew how it was going to affect the food service industry other than it was going to affect it in a negative way. And for what we do, hiring more or less came to a standstill, and it was to be expected. But Charlie did a webinar, I think it was probably in April or maybe early May, that really showed the roadmap of what the restaurant or food service industry in general, rather, not just restaurants, but what it was going to look like through the pandemic, who was going to recover most quickly, what recovery was going to take a little longer. And not only was it valuable insight for the manufacturers that are part of the organization, but for myself, to use a gambling analogy, it helped me figure out where we place our bets, where companies are going to be investing money, time, energy, and resources. And looking back on that webinar over a year later, it was surprisingly accurate. What he said, the food service segments that would weather the storm well did. There are others that he said were going to be a longer road to recovery that we're seeing. And that helps us counsel our clients again in where to invest their time, effort, and energy. And going back to what Heather said about the President's Conference, which was a wonderful event, I look forward to doing it again. You really got a sense of unity from the people that you were talking to, that, even with these clients that compete against each other, that we are one food service industry. We all face the same unique challenges because of the environment we're in. And you really got a sense for, we're really all in this together. Let's think collaboratively. Let's have some thought leadership on how to get through it most effectively.
Really, really good points there, and I appreciate you sharing that. I saw Jack smiling because when you talk about those insights, IFMA does partner with Data Central on those insights, and besides that, at that critical time of Charlie sharing those, we continue to update those twice a year in conjunction with Data Central. So, kudos to you on that too, Jack, and we obviously value that partnership very, very much. I'm sure you have a story or two as well.
I think I'll speak from my perspective and Data Central's perspective as an associate member. The first time you go to an IFMA event, and there's multiple throughout the year, don't really know that many people. The very first time it's mostly unfamiliar faces. But there came a time after maybe the third or fourth event that you felt like you were just sort of really in the conversation all of a sudden. And that's really quite different than you would get at, let's say, another industry event where you spend so much of your time trying to introduce yourselves to people that you never really get to the core of the message or have a really meaningful discussion. I found that at IFMA events, you just sort of cut through all of that, right? All that intro stuff. You're just there, and at some point, people start knowing you too. So you sort of get out of it what you put into it. And we've had much more meaningful conversations with partners and customers and other companies you might want to work with at the events themselves, and certainly via follow-up. And I think it's been much more successful for us than we've seen at other types of events. And I think a lot of it, it's just, there is sort of like a family feel with IFMA. I know it's sort of cliche, but you really do sort of feel that, and you feel like you're all sort of in this club together, which is a really great club.
I couldn't agree more. I came out of the manufacturer side, and when I came over to the Associates Association 4 years ago, I immediately felt like I was just in a different position in the club, right? Still a member of the same club, but now on the association staff side instead of on the manufacturer. So I can relate to that feeling. You know, IFMA has a certain value proposition that we center around access. I think I heard a couple of you say that, you know, access to this food service community, to these leaders, to these decision makers, up and down the supply chain. You know, you'll see operators at our events, you'll see distributors at our events, you'll see other manufacturers certainly, and then of course all the associate members. We also center our value proposition around this data and these insights that you mentioned. And, you know, we have the IFMA Scope tool. We do educational webinars on a continuous basis. And, you know, we for associate members, we'd like to think that we have some really unmatched opportunities for you all to get in front of our membership, as well as, you know, other folks that attend our events that are open to the industry. And that event could be a webinar, that could be a, you know, the marketing and sales conference, whatever. But just give me an idea of how a new member, new associate member, somebody coming in, Jack, they're not as familiar, they might feel like an outsider that first meeting or two. How do they utilize those benefits? You know, how do they capitalize on that value proposition to you know, get the most they can out of their membership right away? Jack, do you have some ideas on that?
Yeah, I mean, first, IFMA has a lot of great content, and it's there to be consumed, whether it's webinars or things that you might get at one of IFMA's conferences. But on top of that, you mentioned IFMA Scope and the sort of suite of really incredible online tools that Data Essential has been lucky enough to have been an active participant in building. You know, we work with IFMA to design those tools so there's multiple layers of richness within them. You know, there was a time when maybe the resources you would get from an association was, you know, something that would fit on a sheet of paper, like here are the stats for the industry. IFMA has gone far beyond that, and you could work with this amazing portal called IFMA Scope and see everything from the landscape of the industry to what's happening within a specific market area of the country, what's going on in a certain segment of the industry, for instance. You can continue sort of clicking in and getting richer and richer information. You can learn about consumers too, how they're changing their behavior. You can filter that by type of consumer. You can look at all the different ways that consumers make decisions and see what constitutes those decisions, whether it's something for a quick meal or if they're motivated by hunger or what's happening during the pandemic. It's all right there. So I like the way it's set up, because if you just want something that's quick, you know, at a glimpse, you know, fast to consume, it's there. But if you want to keep going in deeper, IFMA has spent a lot of resources and great thinking in building tremendous depth to what's available, both in IFMA Scope and the other resources that it offers, and it's there for you. So I'd say the members that get the most out of it are the ones that are willing to dig the deepest into the resources, and there's a lot of stuff to dig into. It's great.
That's a good point. I mean, those resources they can use immediately, right? And part of our new member process, we do an onboarding with the member company, and we spend that time to take them through our tools, such as IFMA Scope, so that they don't have to figure it out on their own. We'll walk them through it one time and say, hey, this is how you access this. This is where you go for that. and they get a good overview in that initial onboarding. From there, that's I hope you all feel this, but that's the other beauty of IFMA. We, as membership, make ourselves available to you. We tell our members regularly, if you need something, call us, contact us. Don't spend a lot of your time. It's too valuable. You're looking for something, whether it's an IFMA scope or it's a name of a connection that you met at President's Conference and you lost their business card. That's what membership is here to help with. So, we very much know that when people do engage early and often, they stay very happy members and they renew their membership and they get the most out of it. They maximize that ROI that, you mentioned earlier, Jack. Heather, how about you? Do you have any examples of utilizing the value proposition and benefits?
Yeah, for us, it's pretty simple. Knowledge, insights, networking. On the knowledge front, as an organization, everyone that starts at SROC goes through food service fundamentals. It's a key learning opportunity to get people's careers off on the right start. I could like to say it's like a rite of passage for SROC. In fact, when I did it almost 20 years ago now, they used to pass out this binder, and I kept this thing around with me forever. It was like my food service Bible, because we all know when you start in this industry, the vernacular is weird. The supply chain is complex and diverse. And so it's a tough industry to kind of jump into. So it's been really important for us in terms of getting people off on the right foot. Insights, you guys already mentioned IFMA scope. This has been a North Star for us, especially when developing strategy for our manufacturing clients. But not only just the digital tools, but the webinars and in-person events have been such a wealth of knowledge for us in helping to inform us on the trends that are in the industry that help us shape our strategies and our creative executions. And then lastly, the networking for us. If you have not been to an IFMA event, I'm sorry, but you're just missing out. There is nothing like an IFMA event. The industry conferences I've attended in the last 2 decades in food marketing, the IFMA by far is my favorite. The level of quality is really unmatched in the industry. And because so many different organizations are joining together to learn and connect, it's really a unique opportunity to not only drive your business, but you, yourself, personally, your own career. The last President's Conference, which is really fresh in my mind, I had the joy of running into a lot of old friends, making a lot of new ones. The content was great. The entertainment was awesome. Alice Cooper, I mean, gosh, you can't beat it. Top-notch conference, and I really can't wait to go back. As you guys already mentioned, there's quite a few to go to in person. We got President's Conference at top level, high end. COEX just around the corner in March, very national accounts driven, which is so critical, especially to our manufacturing clients in terms of connectivity to key decision makers. IFMA Sales and Marketing Conference is really neat from a marketing background. I love seeing brands come to life and seeing how operators are utilizing technology and social media, and really, again, kind of connecting that sales and marketing loop that sometimes can be a real challenge for companies. And then, the Gold and Silver Awards. Awesome opportunity to see those movers and shakers in our industry, really kind of watch them blossom and grow and see where their successes are and how they're really kind of evolving where we are today. So huge bump of knowledge, for us personally, from a business standpoint. And like I said, I'm really excited for these in-person meetings to keep coming back because they are so fruitful to how we operate on a day in, day out basis.
I couldn't agree more, and I see a lot of nodding. We all are in that boat. The way you talked about all the different events and resources, there is such a plethora of that available and included in the membership dues. And, the more you use, the more you gain, right? So I think it's great that I could tell that you have utilized those. You just didn't read about them. You've been there, done that, and are reaping the benefits. Ryan, how about you?
I'm going along with what I said earlier about the presentation, where I feel, so being relatively new to IFMA, we've been attending a lot of the webinars. We went to the President's Conference. The Alice Cooper concert was a great time. I'm interested to see how you're going to top that next year. But going back to the value that I didn't anticipate, what comes to mind is IFMA really helped us in understanding what the future of the industry is going to look like. we're entrenched in food service. So if anyone asks us what the state of the industry is right now, I can give them a pretty educated answer because it's all we do. However, when talking about Charlie's presentation last year, and then Jack did a wonderful presentation at the President's Conference about things that are going to be showing up on menus, like new ingredients and new kinds of food. And there was a presentation by Nancy Cruz about the menu trends you're going to see on the menu in the coming year. It really helped give us a leg up on not necessarily where the food service industry is, but where it's going to go. And I'm drawing a blank on the specific ingredient, but Jack mentioned all these unique things that you're going to find on the menus. And I actually had a client contact me, and instead of saying, when they said we sell blank, instead of saying what's that, I knew. And it was nice to be in the know and to be able to know that that is something we're going to see on menus. And you do see these things come to fruition, like plant-based several years ago was kind of just up and coming. Now it's everywhere. So it's nice to be able to see a few miles down the road and again, be able to provide that value to our clients.
Absolutely. And Ryan, I wanted to mention, you did something pretty cool and creative when Spec joined IFMA. Your post on LinkedIn. Do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Sure. So I've been very active on LinkedIn. That's one of the things when we had a lot of downtime because of the pandemic and companies in the food service space weren't hiring. I got more active on LinkedIn, and we decided to do an official announcement where we had the IFMA logo in the background, and we put the video out to my LinkedIn network and community that, hey, just letting you know we're part of the organization now. If you're IFMA members and just want to have a conversation, introduction, network, or if you want to have conversations, if I can add value to you, feel free to reach out. And got a very good response. I was, not that I underestimated IFMA, but I was surprised by how many people reached out to me simply because I put that 2 or 3 minute video on LinkedIn. So it was pretty successful.
Yeah, I had never seen that in my 4 years here at IFMA, and I pointed it out to several people, and kind of some of them might steal your idea, unless you patented it. I don't know, right? So, hey, Charlie, are there any questions there from the attendees?
Yeah, there is one, Helen, if you don't mind. I think this one might actually go to you, but I'd be happy to hear anybody else comment as well. The person asks, I probably won't be able to, my company probably won't be able to send people to a event. We were talking about President's Conference or COEX. Are there other ways to connect through the association that don't include the events? And maybe, Helen, what do you think about that?
Well, I certainly know there are other ways to connect. I think you also can get very engaged in our virtual opportunities, whether that be virtual webinars or the marketing and sales conference, for instance, which will be virtual. There's a lot of breakout sessions in those virtual events. We intentionally leave time for folks to go into rooms virtually and network. And we've even done some virtual events that are now live events that feel like people can, once you've made some connections, you can continue those connections even outside of IFMA. Tuning into the live conversations that are coming up, Charlie, and I know you're going to talk about those on the upcoming calendar. It's going to expose you to those operators that are in our food service leadership councils that are, around IFMA all the time and make themselves available to our members. So I think through the virtual side of things, there's definitely opportunities to connect. And again, I'll just emphasize as the membership director, if there are folks within IFMA that you want to meet, we want to help make that introduction. We want to help make that connection. So that is part of our role in your membership as well. Did anybody from the panel want to make a comment on that?
I'll just point back to the video that you mentioned, Helen. I mean, that wasn't an in-person invite, and technically that was the first day we were members of IFMA, and I just simply mentioned that I'm a member of IFMA and people were reaching out to me. So, I mean, that shows that there is value just being a part of the organization. Although the in-person events are a lot of fun, and I would say they're worth going to, but I would agree that the webinars, the online events, I think you had a President's Conference virtually, so you can get value without attending the actual events.
Yeah, I was just going to echo that too. During the pandemic, especially when it first started, I got a lot of enjoyment of tuning into a lot of webinars and hearing Charlie doing his interviews. It felt like a lifeline to me. Really, it did. I felt connected even though we couldn't be in person connected. So there's ways to feel connected, and I know there's some opportunities in the chat to just kind of reach out to people when you're attending those. Again, it's what you put into it. So you got to put something into it if you want to get something out of it. But there are opportunities out there to tap into if you're willing to put in a little legwork to get there.
Boy, between Ryan and Heather, I'm gonna send each of you a check after this little conversation's over. You're making me feel, you're making me embarrassed over here.
Panelists today, Ryan Sigler from SPEC, Heather Gowie from SROC, and Jack Lee from Data Central. I not only thank you for your time today, I thank you for your ongoing support of IFMA and being associate members. For 20 plus years, Jack, you might even get one of the long timer awards, I think. So
Right.
we'll work on that. But, again, thank you so much for all you do for us as associate members and for your engagement in the association. In closing, if you're a service provider, if you're looking to reach food service manufacturers and operators, please reach out to us. Check us out at ifmaworld.com. You can look at our events and all of our resources at a non-member level. You will have some access by going to ifmaworld.com. If you need more information, my contact information is there. I thank everyone for joining us today, and go out and make it a great day.